Morning, everyone. Sorry, a little late here, a little delay. Hope you're all doing well. It's Tuesday, um, March 26th. Wow, continuing the push here. Remember, this week we've got a short week, so markets are going to be closed on Friday, and then we're going to be back at it on Monday. Now, one of the main things that if you're looking at markets, right, fairly consistently, we've probably seen this cocoa futures just going crazy, trading like a freaking meme stock, all-time high after all-time high. This thing hit $10,000, right? $10,000 per whatever this is, the cocoa futures here. This is insane, right? You can see this crazy parabolic run that pretty much broke out of this wider range in about April 2023 of last year. And since then, since that breakout, we've just rallied about 250% on these futures. This is astronomical. Trading like this meme type movement is crazy, and you've probably seen it everywhere. Everyone's like, oh, I should have been holding cocoa futures, OJ futures, and whatnot. But the traders can't get enough of this chocolatey goodness, it seems. So supply shortages saw cocoa futures surge well past $9,000 per ton. Okay, so it's per ton on Monday, and we hit that $10,000 per ton rally that started at the from that range breakout in April 2023, and no real signs of letting up until now. We're down about $400 after hitting that 10,000 plus area. Cocoa beans are not the only expensive commodity. In terms of other popular commodities, we've seen that copper has recently had massive returns as well. Also outpacing popular investments like Nvidia and Bitcoin over the past month, plus 47%, and year to date plus 137 or 30%. This is why over the last few weeks, as you guys may have seen in our newsletter, that's free to everyone, right? You just gotta sign up for it on our website. I've been toting, right, FCX. FCX is a company that has a lot of movement within the copper industry, and we've seen that this thing's rallied pretty nicely. Obviously, not particularly as heavily as the copper futures potentially. I don't know if I can even find it. I don't know why this is on the Indian exchange, but we've seen a very strong rally in this. But the main thing I want to talk about is cocoa futures. I think commodities in general are seeing major bottoms this year, and I think that precious metals, although a lot of them have been higher, will see some more upside continuation over the next few quarters. Now, when we go back to cocoa beans and cocoa production, it has been dented by severe weather and crop disease in Ghana and neighboring Ivory Coast, which together are responsible for over 70% of the global output. Farmers in Ghana also sell their cocoa to the government under fixed contract set at the beginning of the season, so smuggling is expected to take advantage of higher prices. Problems surrounding forex reserves can also arise as Ghana Cocoa Board, known as the Cocoa Bod, stands to lose access to key funding facilities due to the shortage of beans, which will further restrict seedlings and fertilizers to farms. Adding complexity is the EU's upcoming deforestation regulation that could limit the output if farms don't comply, and that potentially avoiding some individual names as cocoa prices soar. So it's been fairly similar to the European gas after the war in Ukraine, and thanks to the illiquidity of the contract and lack of sellers, here seems to be the replay of that movie, right? Remarks a few different analysts looking at these prices. So spending on candy and chocolates will drop this Easter, according to the National Retail Federation, as manufacturers pass on rising costs to consumers. Meanwhile, companies could continue cutting down on packaging and bar sizes or promote varieties of with other ingredients. So there's already an explosion of cocoa butter equivalents on the market, as well as substitutes for cocoa mass and artificial flavors, and some expect some clever marketing in the near future, like I can't believe it's not chocolate, like I can't believe it's not butter. So I'm not saying that this is super relevant in what I look for in the markets, but there is opportunity everywhere, and you can see cocoa, right? Cocoa beans. This thing is trading extremely aggressively. Will this be the high that's for future to see. But if demand is fairly increased while supply is heavily decreased, this might not be the end of this massive soaring cocoa. Another piece of news that hit the wire: Boeing, BA. This thing has been in the news several times over for the wrong reasons recently, yet again. And it's shaking up its management with three top level executives stepping down in the wake of quality issues that raised the ire of authorities and airline customers. So, CEO David Calhoun will resign at the end of the year, while Stan Deal, head of the commercial airline units, will retire immediately, and the board chair Larry Kellner won't stand for re-election. The changes come as Boeing grapples with intense scrutiny after a 737 MAX 9 mid-flight blowout. Boeing shares have opened on Monday slightly higher, only to get pulled back, with investing group leader Stonefox Capital advising traders not to buy into the much-needed leadership change. It gapped up on the news of that leadership change, but a lot of things generally have to change for Boeing if there's going to be any kind of upside momentum on this thing. We saw that it's trading in a massive range over the past several years here since we dropped in 2020. It hasn't necessarily recovered that well, but there have to be a lot of changes, especially with quality control in Boeing. This is one of the names that I'm honestly surprised it hasn't dropped even more, considering what's been going on. And rival Airbus, right, out of France, is most likely going to be taking a lot of that competition in. When we look at other news, right, like I said, it's a short week this week. We had some durable goods orders that came in this morning. We have consumer confidence today, Richmond Fed Manufacturing Index, and then we have the results of the 5-year note auction, and some money supply news that comes out. But generally speaking, I'm not necessarily looking for too much activity this week. Remember, yesterday what we talked about was AMD, Tesla, and Nvidia for that potential upside. AMD yesterday, right, pretty much right off the open, presented us with an amazing opportunity for these longs, especially on options, as we're trying to gap up right now as well. Talking about buying that news from yesterday's call. Nvidia as well, we closed into yet a new all-time high. That traded yesterday into, well, the close is 950 area, the high of the move, which isn't an intraday all-time high, but the close is on an all-time high. Sorry, and I still like this for the upside pressure. Tesla was another one that we had mentioned yesterday, looking for it to bottom out. We're gapping very generously to the upside right now, pre-market. So these on the options front have been doing well and looking for a little more upside. But when it comes to the equity market, on the S&P 500 specifically, we've been toting, kind of playing with markets temporarily topping out to see a larger pullback. Like I mentioned yesterday, I want to see something significant that brings us down into areas where big buyers are kind of waiting and settling to really pull this thing back to the upside. So even pre-market, we run up into an area around 5,300 on the S&P 500 futures before we accumulate a lot of buyers and fail there. Some of the news helped that out, but the way I see this, as long as we're trading under this like 52, 92, 93 area, I'd want to see these guys come down and test that mid 52.70 where a lot of players got trapped. Remember, that was the key buy area from yesterday to swing this thing back up, and it did fairly well. Just one trade on the day, that's all that we needed. And with the S&P, right, not that I'm very bearish on this, I'm just looking at this as exhaustion of buy side over the last several sessions, trying to see if we can get some kind of capitulative move and run under this 52.73 area. But again, you have to be very cautious with that. The only reasoning to see the sell is going to be well below that level, right? 52, like 65 and lower. Otherwise, you're kind of grasping at straws here while this market is sustaining a lot of upside momentum. So I want to see maybe we can fail from that low 90 area on the S&P 500 futures to see if we can get a push back down into yesterday's lows and fight with those sellers that were accumulating traps into that downward move. I have a slight lean to the buy side today, right, even though I want to see if these guys could sell a little more. I do have a slight lean to the buy side. I don't think it's going to be that easy for prices to get back under that 72, 73 area, but that's going to be a major pivot. So I'm going to start off with that as well. Failure to accept higher above 93 is a failure for the buy side. So started a little later today. Hope you got a lot of information out those cocoa futures, but other things among that. Let's see what we get on today's trading session as we get ready for, I think, a little pullback, then see the buyers step in at lower prices. With that being said, I'll see you guys tomorrow as we come into towards the end of the week. I hope everyone has a great morning and a great trading session. Check us out at TradeProAcademy.com because I'm going to be opening up our live futures trading room today in a few minutes. And we'll see you all there. So thank you, everyone. Take care. Thanks for joining me today.